Back on our show this Friday morning, and it's good to have Dr. Gonzalo Hidalgo with us this morning. He's the Director of Neurology at the Medical Clinic of Central Louisiana, here to talk about Parkinson's disease. April is Parkinson's Awareness Month. So, Doctor, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you, thank you.
Happy Friday to you, Doctor.
Thank you. So, we're going to talk about Parkinson and what Parkinson is all about.
Tell us about it.
Well, Parkinson is a very common disease in neurology. It's the second disease most common after Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
So a good number of patients has Parkinson. In the United States, there is about 1 million people with Parkinson right now. You know, around 60,000 new cases every year.
Wow. More older people.
Usually it's older people, yes. But there is a small percentage of young people, and it can be quite young sometimes, less than 40 years old. Parkinson's disease is a disorder where the brain, one specific part of the brain starts to degenerate. And because of that, do not produce the chemical that you need, and it produces all the symptoms of Parkinson.
I want to ask you, what are the signs, early signs, symptoms? You said 40 years old. I'm like, okay, I sat up a little.
Well, one of the things is people tend to think about Parkinson when they see the end of the stage disease.
Right.
Now we have the ability, for example, in the United States to see people like the actor Michael J. Fox, or Muhammad Ali, or John Paul II, who was a public figure. So people always remember the last part of it, you know, when they have all the symptoms. Well, Parkinson always starts very little symptoms. Small amount. It could be just a finger, a hand, a little rigidity. So it happens years after when you have that total symptoms. You never have Parkinson in 6 months. It's always years. Okay, the real Parkinson disease take long period of time, between 10 and 20 years, depending when the disease starts. You know.
Can you go over a few of the warning signs?
Yes. There is 2 basic characteristics of Parkinson's disease. One is too much movement, and that's what mainly the tremors. Now, people believe that always the tremors are Parkinson. Not all the patients with Parkinson has tremors. Okay? And not all the tremors are Parkinson. And then you have the lack of movement, who is the rigidity, the stiffness, and they become very slow. Basically, the patient with Parkinson become very slow in most of the activities. To think, to move, to write. So the family noticed that. They say, well, he's taking a long time to do this. His handwriting is changing. Or his facial expression looks different. You know? But again, always start little by little.
Right.
And Parkinson's disease is a slow disease process. There is other disease who look like Parkinson. They are not Parkinson. We have another name for that. We call it atypical Parkinson or Parkinsonism. But the real Parkinson disease, the primary Parkinson, who was described in the early 1800s, is the one that take years. So it has a clear evolution that we neurologists understand how it goes. It's a disease that we can predict very well, in the sense that we can predict where it goes. And it's also a disease that if it's Parkinson, you can treat it and it responds. It's always respond. What happens is the disease progress. So in the end, there is more problem, but you always have good treatment in the beginning.
For those family members that are diagnosed with Parkinson, is there a support group? What can families do at this point?
Well, there is a lot of information you can get through the internet, especially for the big association. There's a group called We Move. They can check on that. The American Academy of Neurology has all this information available. Cabrini has a support group. I think it's now in April 20, I think is the time when they get together.
20th.
That's a very good idea for anybody who has Parkinson, to talk to other people, to know what Parkinson is. There is a lot of treatment for Parkinson. Again, patients with Parkinson, they always improve with the symptoms, you know?
Right.
In fact, I tell my patient, if you don't improve, you don't have Parkinson. You should improve, you know?
Well, Dr. Hidalgo, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
The United Ways campaign, we'll talk more about that when we return. Stick around.